Welcome to the National Instructor Forum, and thank you for being here today. The National Instructor Forum, in case this is your first chance to be with us, was created as a collaborative effort between the National Safety Council and the National Child Passenger Safety Board to provide child passenger safety technicians and instructors an opportunity to expand their knowledge and reach on topics related to child passenger safety and to help each other foster program longevity. We would like to stress that if you're trying to attempt to participate in this forum today while operating a motor vehicle, we ask that you disconnect from the webinar now and plan to view it later when it is safe to do so. We do record the National Instructor Forum sessions, and they are placed within the Child Passenger Safety Learning Portal at carseateducation.org. This presentation will be made available to you within 2 business days after this recording. Thank you so much for being here, and I would love to welcome Tammy Franks and Rebecca Adler. Tammy is a program manager for the National Safety Council, and Rebecca is a curriculum designer that works closely with Tammy and the board to update the curriculum. I'll let them introduce themselves more formally, and Tammy, it's all yours.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Claudia. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to everybody for your patience with having to reschedule this webinar. I apologize for if it created any inconvenience for you. We had quite a Florida seemed to share their hurricane force winds with us last week, and there wasn't even anywhere I could drive within a 2 to 3 hour radius where I could get connectivity and electricity. So I apologize for that. I did try, but here we are today, and I'm excited to share this information with you. I am a senior program manager with the National Safety Council. I also serve as the on the National Child Passenger Safety Board as the curriculum representative. In this presentation today, I will be serving or wearing my National Child Passenger Safety Board hat and representing the National Child Passenger Safety Board. So before we get started, though, I am honored to be joined by Rebecca Adler. And if you haven't met her before or seen her before, I am so excited for you to meet Rebecca Adler. She is our instructional designer and helps lead the curriculum revisions for us. She's going to do a quick introduction, and then she'll come back at the end and help to answer any questions in case you guys stumped me. I wanted to make certain to have backup as well. So go ahead, Rebecca, and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Tammy. My name is Rebecca Adler. I'm an instructional designer who's had the great good fortune to be working with this program and with Tammy and her team for the past several years. I've been in the adult education field since the 1990s, which is a long time. And so much has changed since then, but a lot of the most foundational principles of adult education have not changed. And so we're going to be talking about that today. Tammy's going to be talking about that. And I just want to say I'm so glad you're here and curious about this subject.
Great. Let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to switch my screen. And how lucky am I to be able to work with Rebecca? So I think you can feel her excitement just even as she introduces herself. So one moment. Okay, so Claudia, can you verify that you can see the correct slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, give me 1 second. All right, so for those of you who were at the Lifesavers Conference, there is a little bit of repeat information that was shared during the pre-conference session, but I promise there's lots of new content as well. And let's get started and see what's going on. So first of all, I would want to provide you just a quick update about the 2024 Child Passenger Safety Technician Certification Training Curriculum. And as you know, this is, or as you may know, this is a work in progress. We have been talking about this for over a year now with the field. And I can tell you that the National Child Passenger Safety Board started working on this curriculum revision about a little over 2 years ago. So it was around May of 2022 is when we really jumped in and started working on this curriculum revision. And one of our first steps, and I share this because I want to ensure the importance of your involvement as instructors in the field. One of our first steps to starting this curriculum revision was to review the suggestions that we received that were submitted via the curriculum feedback form. So if there's any of you out there, please, you can give a pause, a thumbs up, share on your screen. If you submit suggestions via the curriculum feedback form, we read every single one. We want to know what's working, what's not working. I see some hands going up, and thank you guys. I appreciate you. And I want you to know that we see what you submit, we think about what you submit, and hopefully you'll see some of the changes that you have suggested reflected in the 2024 revision of the curriculum. So together, working together, we do together, working together. That was kind of awkward. Let's try that again. Together, we build a stronger curriculum. And so I just want to say thank you to each one of you as well. So from there, I can share with you that the anticipated release date for the curriculum is December of 2024. And when I say the curriculum, that includes all materials. So we are updating everything that touches the nationally standardized certification training curriculum. So that includes the technician guide, the instructor guide, the PowerPoint presentations, the online learning modules, the supplemental materials, the instructor prep guide, the planning guide, anything that you can think of, the web pages, anything that you can think of that's associated with the curriculum will be updated, and or has been or is in the progress of being updated, and you will have access to that in December of this year. And so you can see why this process takes about 2 years to complete it all, because it is a huge curriculum and it touches many pieces of many resources. So let's give you, if you haven't seen a sneak peek yet of the curriculum, I'm going to provide you with a couple sneak peeks. So full disclosure here, if you were at Lifesavers, the sneak peeks are the same as that you saw at Lifesavers. We're going to wait to reveal the new updated sneak peeks next week at the Kids in Motion conference during that pre-conference, or I'm sorry, during the conference session. It's in workshop 1 sessions. So this is the updated 2024 technician guide cover, and I hope it's so fun. I just love it. I love sharing it with you. A couple things that I want to point out for you on the cover. Please note that we have updated the title of the training curriculum. So this is the 7th version of this training curriculum. In 2020, the name of the curriculum was the National Child Passenger Safety Technician Certification Training Curriculum, but we have dropped the word national from the title. And the reasoning for this is because we now have a new partnership with Transport Canada. Recognizing the importance of the safe installation of vehicle restraints and booster seats, Transport Canada and NHTSA have partnered together to create a joint curriculum for the child passenger safety technicians. The goal of this partnership is to promote consistent child passenger safety practices across our borders, in addition to providing nationally standardized trilingual training materials to child passenger safety technicians. And yes, I did say trilingual. The 2024 curriculum in both delivery formats, so the in-person and the hybrid, will be translated into Spanish for use in the United States. The Spanish version will be available in, I'm estimating, mid-2025. We'll start the translation after we launch all of the materials in English. Additionally, Transport Canada plans to translate the in-person delivery format version of this curriculum into French. And they will roll out both the English and French versions at the same time. So they may be a little bit delayed from the US rollout. It depends on how long the translation takes for them. So amazing. I cannot believe that we have 2 different delivery formats and 3 languages. Just who thought we would, a few years ago, I couldn't even imagined it. So super, that's just fantastic to be able to share that with you. Additionally, you see that we really have put an emphasis on branding of the curriculum and the curriculum resources. And so we'll continue to use the icons from NHTSA with the rear-facing, forward-facing car seats, the booster seats, and the seatbelt with the 4 color blocks. Those may look familiar from the 2020 curriculum cover. And we'll also, these children here that you see, they will be used on many of the materials as well. And we do this to help with brand recognition, but also for the students to know that they're in the right place and using the right materials. So as you see here with this branding, the curriculum designers pulled it right from the Child Passenger Safety Learning Portal at carseateducation.org. So that technician guide cover and the instructor guide cover have been designed to align with the branding of the Child Passenger Safety Learning Portal. If you haven't visited the Child Passenger Safety Learning Portal at carseateducation.org, I encourage you to scan that QR code and drop in there and take a look around. There's over 80 plus courses available in there free of charge. And this is also where students go if they're participating in the hybrid delivery format. They go to the Child Passenger Safety Learning Portal and complete their online learning modules here. Additionally, you'll see the branding carried through to the online learning modules, and this is a draft header that we'll be using for those online learning modules, again, signaling to the students that they are completing the correct training and that it's aligning with their tech guide, and also for the 2024 curriculum. So let's continue and explore some of the drafted revisions, and then we'll move into some of the adult learning theory that we've applied to the curriculum development. So we started a little bit differently on this curriculum revision. In the past, we developed the glossary of terms at the end based on kind of the curriculum content. In the 2024 curriculum delivery, we started with the glossary of terms as the first step. So we decided what terminology we're going to use. And by doing so, that has helped us to be very consistent in the terminology throughout the curriculum. So whatever terms are used early in the curriculum, you'll see that they're used all the way throughout in a very consistent manner. Most notably, you will see updated terminology in Module 6 for lower anchors and tethers. We've been much more specific in referring to, for example, lower anchor attachment systems, lower anchor connectors, lower anchor webbing, so that students have a better idea to what you're referring. So in the past, we might just say lower anchors, and was that the lower anchor connector on the car seat or the lower anchor in the vehicle? You'll also see some updates in terminology in Modules 7, the overview of car seat and booster seat use, and Module 8 in rear-facing car seats. And more will be revealed on that soon. Stay tuned. One of the biggest changes that you'll see is the reorganization of the modules. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see that in 2020, we had 3 different modules that dealt with the communication skills. And we have recognized that communication is really equally as important as technical skills for child passenger safety technicians. So what we did is we really wanted to make certain that we stress those communication skills from the start of the curriculum rather than at the end as an afterthought, and build on it throughout the curriculum. And so we looked at Module 12, interacting with caregivers, and we're like, why are we waiting to the end? What can we introduce earlier on? So in 2020, Modules 2, 12, and 13, as shown on the screen, dealt with communication skills. And we reworked Module 12, interacting with caregivers, and added much of that information into the new Module 2 for 2024, which is called Communicating and Educating. And then what we did is there was a little bit left over from Module 12, and we put it into the new Module 12, using and building your new skills. And you'll note an update in that module title as well. In 2020, we called it Using and Maintaining. We really want to stress that this is we're providing students with a foundation of knowledge on which they can build. And so we updated that module 12 to stressing building your new skills rather than maintaining your new skills, because we always have room to learn more, like today about adult learning theory applied in the curriculum. Some of the activities that were at the end of the previous module 12, or I guess the current in the 2020, have been moved to the new module 12 in the 2024. And you'll see some other changes applied as well, but I'm excited for you to see all of those changes and how it works in the layout. So far, it's been very well received during field review. Another big change that you'll see applied globally throughout the curriculum is that we have updated the terminology that we use to refer to the teach-back philosophy. And that was in the 2020 curriculum, we used Learn, Practice, Explain. And this has been updated to Learn, Practice, and Educate, again, focusing on the role of the technicians as educators, reinforcing that introduction of communicating with the caregivers. And so you'll see that we stress that throughout. Additionally, as I will share in a little bit, we provide more detailed information on the reasoning of the Learn, Practice, and Learn, Practice, and Educate activities that are used throughout the curriculum. So let's move on and get into the new content for you and talk a little bit about the design principles for the 2024 curriculum. So one of the first things that we did, and when I say we, this was largely the instructional designers, is in asking the board, was to look at how the technician guide is used. So we wanted to have a better understanding of the use of the technician guide so that we could apply that to how we laid out the material in the technician guide. So if you think about the use, the technician guide may be used before the training. We provide a digital copy on cpsboard.org on the National Child Passenger Safety Board's website for review. Students may also receive their print copy ahead of time, especially if they're enrolled in the hybrid delivery format. And what that technician guide does, and during that point in the process of the learning process or before the training, it provides a preview of program credibility, relevance, scope, and expectations. During the training, this is really a companion resource for the students. During the instructional portions of the course, they're able to capture their work in the note sections, on the worksheets, in the progress checks. It helps them to prepare for their quizzes and skills evaluations. And then it also helps to serve as a resource for the instructors as they do their presentations during the training. It's an accompanying piece or that companion piece to the instructor guide and the PowerPoint slides. And then after the training, we really encourage students or new CPSTs or any CPSTs to use the technician guide as an on-the-job reference tool. So for example, at car seat checks, I've heard that in the 2020 curriculum, many check sites have created copies of what locks a seatbelt and use that, place those on the clipboards as a reference for the students or for the technicians to use if they are new technicians to help remind them of how to lock a seatbelt. And there's also, potentially technicians can return and look in the end module. So currently module 13, soon to be module 12, that allows them to look at how to do, where to go to recertify and what needs to be done to meet your recertification requirements. So thinking a little bit more about the design with that information in mind, one of the first things we did is look at the visual design. So, and with the goals of promoting consistency, clarity, and usability. So here you'll see a side-by-side view of the last or the most recent curriculum revisions. So 2014, 2020, and soon 2024. And you'll see that with each year or each version, we're really working to improve the scannability of the document. And part of that has to do with just the change in the way that people receive information. Most of us receive the majority of our information on our cell phones. We're used to very short snippets, bullet points, and so large blocks of text may not be as welcoming or as easy for us to scan. And we've really moved away from using that, as you can see here, with the evolution of each of the curriculum revisions. So in 2020, we did some improvements, including lighter and darker text to really, heading sizes were different to help making the document a little bit more scannable. We incorporated bold tech tips, and we also worked to incorporate a consistent color palette. And you'll see in 24, we'll have even increased chunking or like breaking the information into pieces of the content. Way more images. I can confirm that the technician guide is about 100 pages longer than it currently is, and that has to do with the increased use of images and also more information, more infographics, and line art to support the concepts. Additionally, we are helping to have set expectations from the start of each module. We'll have word watch lists. We'll have the footers or the site information will be incorporated on each of the pages to which it applies rather than at the end of the module, making it easier to reference as well. So we're hoping that this helps improve the use of the technician guide as a resource tool post-class for CPSTs. And we will I'm going to show you some sneak peeks later on. These are still the older sneak peeks. Like I said, we're going to save the new sneak peeks until next week. Another thing that we worked on is really on updating the line art that is used throughout the curriculum. So you'll see an example here of all of the different types or many of the different types of illustrations that are incorporated into the 2020 version. And a lot of it was dependent on whoever provided the line art to us, and we're very grateful for that. But it didn't have a kind of a cohesive look. And so we worked with a line artist, and what we did is we updated the vast majority of the line art that is used throughout the curriculum. And so you can see, like in the top left, that is now illustrating the 3 stages of a crash: the vehicle crash, the human crash, and the internal crash. The tether anchor locations have been updated in the bottom left image. We've created our own line of car seats, I joke, with the line artist to use for the pieces parts in the rear facing, forward facing, and booster seat modules. On the top right, you're going to see that's an illustration of the different types of vehicle crashes and designed to be a little bit, to help students understand a little bit better what we're talking about for each type of crash. And then down below is on the bottom right-hand corner is just showing you an indirect tether routing typically found in a pickup truck. So again, just that same look and feel, and it just really, it lends itself, I think it elevated the curriculum. So I would have to say I'm so excited for you all to see the digital copy of the technician guide. Other things that we do to help with design is that we look at the color contrast. So content is checked for color contrast, which is critical for legibility, especially on smaller screens. So remember that we do have some students who are completing the hybrid online learning modules, and they may be completing some of it on their phone or a smaller tablet. So the first example on the top left shows how red and blue elements do not work for color contrast. So you'll see the kind of the blue highlight with the red text, and then you can see the different testing with the fails there. The yellow and blue example on the bottom left, and then shown in the picture on the right-hand side, show a passing score for contrast. So the image on that right shows how the instructional designers have put the principle into practice in diagrams. And you'll see this especially in the put to use on the online learning modules. Let me show you here. In addition, we run the images through and test for color blindness. So this is on an online color blindness simulator, is used to test visibility for critical diagrams to ensure that the contrast is still intact. These tests are performed using, as I said, an online simulator, and Rebecca has shared that the top fact on their facts page states that 99% of colorblind people are not really colorblind, but color deficient. The term color blindness is misleading. So we make certain that the colors that we're using, that the contrast is still available as needed. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. So in 2020, you may have noticed that we took a different approach with the slides. The 2014 slides had many, many bullet points. In fact, most of the talking points for the instructors, I like to refer to those as like kind of a slide documentary. And I think most of us have been in those presentations where an instructor will go in and read all of the bullet points on the slide, and it may not be our most favorite kind of presentation. So in 2020, we really worked to have less text on the screen, as shown there on the left-hand slide, and we're maintaining this approach. Again, with that reminder that we know that those on-screen bullet points are super helpful to instructors, functioning as that teleprompt, it's not helpful to the learner to be reading bullet points while trying to listen to the instructor. And one of my as I learn more and more about adult learning theory, one of my most favorite stats to share is that your brain actually processes visuals 60% faster than it does texts. So, thinking about that, we kept that in mind as we were developing the slides, and we want to make certain that the students are listening to you as an instructor, and that as they're talking, that the visuals are reinforcing what you're saying. So this approach aligns with Richard Mayer's redundancy principle, which applies primarily to digital learning experiences, but also applies to PowerPoint presentation. So the redundancy principle suggests that multimedia messages are most effective when learners encounter just spoken words and graphics. When instructors include text on screen, they risk overwhelming their learners' visual channels with both pictures and words, and inadvertently direct their cognitive processes to resolving differences between the spoken text and the printed text. Now, do note that we will continue to provide titling on the slides as shown in the 2024 version. This titling mirrors the titling in the technician guide so that the students or learners are able to follow along in their technician guide during the live course or the in-person delivery and can map to the corresponding page. So this image-first approach will also help when the curriculum is translated. So as I remember, I was saying that we were translating to Spanish and French, and this will require less copy fitting and reformatting to accommodate different languages on the slides. moving forward in thinking about the visual design as well. First of all, I'm going to pause just for a moment, and if there are any of you out there who have helped contribute, who have contributed to the videos that are used in the hybrid delivery format of the 2020 curriculum, thank you so much. We realize how long those, what a great effort that was, and how much time that took for you to do that. And they have been very well received. We had so many curriculum feedback forms that have indicated this video is fantastic. How do I incorporate this into my, into the in-person, you know, are you going to put this in the 24 curriculum? And the answer is yes. So we're going to use some of the videos from the 2020, it was released in 22, hybrid delivery format. And we're going to incorporate those into the in-person, especially visual examples that could be tricky to demonstrate in the classroom. So, you know, sometimes it's very difficult in large classrooms or even small classrooms for all students to be able to see the vehicle demonstrator seat. You know, for example, look at that bottom left one there with the lower anchor connector and attaching it to the lower anchor. That could be very difficult for students to see in the classroom on the vehicle demonstrator seat. We have been mindful not to totally replace instructors with videos in the classroom. We use them very selectively in the in-person delivery format to make certain that they're reinforcing points that might be, again, difficult for students to see. Okay, so let's move forward and talk a little bit about the instructional design. And with the instructional design, the main goals are consistency, practice, and retention. So the curriculum has always been well designed with the practice and assessment built in. Consistency with any delivery consistency with delivery is a known issue with any curriculum delivered in classrooms by many different instructors. And so the curriculum design seeks to provide a consistent and logical way for instructors to facilitate while considering the complexities of classroom management, and as well as the other delivery format of the hybrid training's real-time components. So the course structure with its mix of presentation, discussion, video, media, live demonstration, hands-on activities, worksheets, and skills evaluation ensures the learners benefit from evidence-based learning principles designed to enable their success. So the goals of the child passenger safety technician training are to provide foundational technical knowledge about car seats, booster seats, and seatbelt systems. Additionally, the second goal is to create opportunities to develop and practice communication skills for educating caregivers on the safe transportation of children in motor vehicles. To reach those goals, we must define specific outcomes and skills. So Bloom's taxonomy, which as shown here, can be used to help structure the learning to achieve the desired outcomes. The levels are intended to be more cognitively demanding as you go. For building foundational knowledge, you must first understand and be able to apply the knowledge. While learners typically develop the knowledge and skills from the bottom to the top of this hierarchy, this is not a recipe for learning. Sometimes we start at a higher level and then fill in the blanks afterwards. So think about, for example, the install a car seat activity, which in the 2020 curriculum is at the end of module 2, or sorry, the start of module 2, which throws the learner right into the task of installing a car seat with no prior experience. Next, they're asked to assess or analyze how they did. Further analysis comes at the end when they reassess their original car seat install video with the benefit of remembering, understanding, and applying all that they have learned since that effort. And I'll just take a moment to let you read through that. We've also done some update to the module objectives. So in the past, in the 2020 version, for example, the objectives of the training modules were really written for instructor guidance. So, and you can see that if you compare the left and the right columns. So previously written, so like, for example, we would say review the federal motor vehicle safety standards related to car seats and booster seats. Explain NHTSA's car seat and booster seat recommendations. Well, that's not really what we want the students to be focusing on. For the students, we want them to be able to focus on how they can apply this information and provide questions that focus them so that they can answer these questions or look for the answers for these questions throughout the curriculum. So for example, rather than saying review the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard 213 related to car seats and booster seats, something equivalent, this is a different module, but we'll say, what are the US and Canadian Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards related to lower anchors and tethers? So again, really trying to focus on what the students are going to learn so they can find and address that information as it applies to them and those questions at the beginning of the module. As we stressed earlier, the focus throughout the curriculum is on practice. We want the students to think about what they're learning, to try what they've learned, and to make mistakes. Students have to do the task or the job with feedback, because this is when learning happens. This can only occur through practice, and practice you'll see occurs at regular intervals throughout the in-person training and also in the hybrid delivery format, though that looks a little bit different. So many of the learn, practice, and explain activities involve describing or teaching a topic to a caregiver. Putting new concepts into words is very, very critical practice, and the struggle to formulate a new concept and to explain it to someone else is a part of this critical practice and should not be ignored. That is why in the hybrid course, we require the learn, practice, and currently explain, soon to be educates, to be videotaped to ensure that this critical practice occurs. People who have, instructors who have taught the hybrid delivery format have indicated that often students are better prepared for skills evaluation for interacting with the caregivers because they have practiced explaining the concepts, because they have to, they absolutely are doing the learn, practice, and explains or educates because they're being submitted to those instructors. Additionally, with the practice, we want to involve the whole body. Learning involves the whole body and mind with all of your emotions and your senses and receptors. Learning is created, it is not consumed. The training puts many hands-on activities, includes many hands-on activities because physical movement improves the mental processing. To restrict bodily movement is to hamper the mind from functioning at its best. So I really encourage you to have students stand up, maybe change locations in the room, use props throughout the room, car seats, when they're doing the learn, practice, and educates, and to not skip those learn, practice, and educates in the in-person delivery format. They really are a vital part of the learning process, and there's much adult learning theory to back up the inclusion of the learn, practice, and educates in the curriculum. When new knowledge is acquired through reading, through watching a video or demonstration, or through an instructor's explanation, learners can retrieve that new information only for a short amount of time before something else takes precedence. So neuroscience tells us that learners can absorb about 20 minutes of new information before they need to stop and apply it, so it has a chance to encode in the brain. So I feel like I need to stop right now and do some type of activity with all of you, but I don't have time today. But luckily this will be recorded and you can refer back to it if you want. So pausing to allow learners to review and retrieve new knowledge helps them to cement new information and begin finding a place in their own unique schema of existing knowledge. Retrieval builds strong brain connections to new information and is more powerful than repetition for remembering information. Evidence shows that retrieval practice is especially effective at increasing longer-term retention and generally outperforms more common strategies such as repeated studying or even more elaborate ones like concept mapping. So every time the learner retrieves new information, that roadway in the brain is more strongly formed. Think of retrieval, or what is occurring during the learn, practice, and educate activities, as beginning with a footpath and ultimately building a highway that provides a smooth and rapid path to that information in the future. So the design of the curriculum includes several pauses for applying new knowledge with immediacy. So you'll see here again, stressing that learn, practice, and educate activities, discovery exercises or worksheets, such as using the car seat instruction manuals or the vehicle owner's manual, and then having them or having students or learners go outside to the vehicles looking for airbag markings. It could be identifying hands-on activities such as identifying the parts in the car seat or practicing installs as well. So when learners, looks like I forgot one of my slides there, or part of the slide, sorry, it must not have all downloaded. When learners have completed their training sessions, they're at the peak of motivation and inspiration. But the minute that they leave, they start sliding down that forgetting curve. So knowledge retention is in most steep decline almost immediately, which the image that, if it was there, would be showing you on the left. And you're most likely familiar with this fact. Most educational professionals try to design programs that can mitigate this downward slide. It's easy to see that sometimes something needs to happen over time to keep learning intact. And so that's why we use practice. And you can see on the right-hand slide here, any practice activity can help stop that slide and is helpful. Pre and post training support, tips, webinars, videos, hands-on activities can all boost the curve up. Digital resources that can be accessed anytime, anywhere, such as YouTube playlists of all course videos, are also a great tool for mitigating that forgetting curve. And so then let's look a little bit at the classroom approach, and then we'll talk a little bit about the hybrid approach. So in the classroom approach, we are seeking to incorporate media assets and activities that were developed for the hybrid course, as I mentioned earlier, which can enhance the classroom experience. So we're going to use some of those crowdsourced videos, and additionally, we will be working, we have incorporated the use of the National Digital Car Seat Check Form throughout the curriculum, and we'll be mapping the knowledge and skills to use the NDCF through a series of activities that are called check form checks. You'll see the icons there on the right-hand side. And really, in talking with Rebecca and her team, we talked about one of the ultimate goals of people creating this class is to help, or completing this class is to help caregivers or members of the public with their car seats and booster seats and how to use them correctly. And often that's done at an inspection station or a checkup event. Well, one of the resources that we use at those events would be the check form. And so it made sense, rather than waiting to the end of the curriculum, to incorporate the use of the check form from the start. So as different concepts are explained, so for example, in Module 7, where we talk about do you know the history of the car seat? Is it recalled? Has it been registered? Those questions from the National Digital Car Seat Check Form will be reviewed during that module so that students can immediately apply that information, again, creating those roadmaps and really helping to create a connection. And we recognize that people in some areas do not use the National Digital Car Seat Check Form, but in order to ensure a standardized delivery of the curriculum, we ask that you do use the National Digital Car Seat Check Form throughout the 12 modules because input fields are very similar to other check forms as well, and it will help ease the students into using the check form upon completion of the course. Other check forms as well. Looking at the hybrid approach, we're not going to make a whole lot of changes to that. Remember, the hybrid delivery format is only about 2 years old. We will continue with micro-learning approach where the content is broken into short segments, as you're seeing here. This enables learners to repeat specific sections that they want to practice or review and ensures consistent delivery of all content. Which is not subject to like any type of bias or a time crunch where we have to quickly review something. So like I said, that hybrid approach will remain basically the same, just with all updated information to align with the 2024 Technician Guide. So within the hybrid delivery format, we'll continue to follow Mayer's evidence-based principles and how content is rendered on screen and in videos and interactions, including the segmenting, so that micro-learning will look at the coherence principle, incorporate the coherence principle, which states that people learn better when you exclude extraneous material. We'll look at consider modality, which states that people learn more deeply from pictures and spoken words than from pictures and printed words. So you'll see that change both in the online learning modules as well as in the Technician Guide. While we cannot implement all of these principles, we will prioritize these principles as much as possible. So let me give you a little bit of sneak peek and how this applies within the curriculum and kind of show you. Now, if you missed the start of this webinar, I am going to, in full disclosure, let you know that this is still the earlier version of the curriculum. So this was what was released in April. We will be releasing more of a sneak peek next week, and we'll be doing a webinar in September if you're unable to attend the Kids in Motion conference for this and attend the session for the sneak peek. So let me just kind of walk through a few of the pages of Module 2. The title of this module has been updated to Communicating and Educating rather than the CPS technician role as an educator. So each module will start with this page. I like to call it like kind of the expectations building page or the roadmap page. You will see that at the beginning of at the very top, will be the module objectives. Please remember that those will be phrased as questions for the students so they know what information to focus on as it's presented. There will be a word watch list as shown in the middle. The word watch are the terms that are in the glossary of terms. At their first occurrence, we'll no longer be bolding the terms throughout the curriculum. We wanted to make certain that it worked well in early modules in the 2020 curriculum, but like, for example, by module 10, when you had a random word bolded, often people couldn't remember why the words were bolded, and there might have only been one or two. So now we'll have the word watch at the beginning, and each of the word watch words will also be in the glossary of terms, so as a double reference for the students. And then the About This module, which we did have in the 2020 curriculum, but it was kind of sandwiched right up by the module objectives and didn't always get covered, is called out after the word watch. And again, this sets the tone for the module so students know what will be discussed in greater detail. So beyond those focusing questions at the beginning. As best as possible, we've tried to include kind of this intro page on one page, but there are some modules, for example, where the word watch list is very long. I can think of, module 6 is an excellent example, lower anchors and tethers. That word watch list is very long, and so it pushes onto a second page. Additionally, you'll see here's a demonstration of how we're really using graphics throughout and to help chunk the information so that it's easier to scan. So good, better, best, you can quickly find, look for the good icon and look for the information underneath. And then that's carried through to the example. And we've worked to update the examples and also looked at the flow of information to make certain that we weren't jumping ahead of ourselves. So one prime example is in Module 2. In Module 2, currently, we state that good, better, best, and talk about based on the child's age, weight, height, developmental level, following the child restraint manufacturer's directions, the vehicle manufacturer's directions, and state law. All of that is the students are going to learn throughout the rest of the curriculum. So it's pretty overwhelming for them to get a good, better, best example where they don't even have the context to support it. So we tried, it took us a long time to come up with an example that would work, but something we are trying this map analogy to explain good, better, best in terms of, comparing a hand-drawn map to a published road map to the GPS and the level of detail in each one, as also in addition to the ability of each one to warn you of potential hazards, road hazards, or safety concerns. Other places that you'll see this is that, especially I think in Module 6, making certain that we were incrementally introducing the use of lower anchors and then tethers rather than kind of just, always stressing previously we would say, immediately before we even talked about tethers, always use a tether, and there was no context for the students. So making certain to incrementally introduce that as well. We have added a section on equity and inclusion, and also have shared resources, a pointer to the National Child Passenger Safety Board's Resource Center, with the curriculum resources that deal with, that provide information in different languages, really making certain that we reach as wide of an audience as possible, and that we are as inclusive as possible. So, and I love the inclusion of this infographic that we were able to use with the permission of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, sharing the difference between equality and equity. Here's another example of really chunking or segmenting that information. So it's provided in a table, making it easier to scan and locate for future reference. The use of icons to also help with quick recognition as well. So hopefully, again, this will make it very easy for students to find the information. As I mentioned at the start, we are partnering with Transport Canada. Overall, the curriculum is written to reflect the use of, or to reflect the US and the Canadian information. We only call out when the information is different for Canada, and we've made those call outs very apparent. So you'll see here that any information that's different is preceded by a Canadian flag, as shown on the top there, with that red line, and in the text, some Canada or Canadian will be called out, so it's very specific. I can let you know that you do not have to teach the Canadian specific information, especially it is provided there as a reference, but if you're in an area where you don't have any Canadian students, where you don't have any, you're not near any borders, that information does not have to be taught. And so that's why we wanted to make certain it was very distinct as well. And then, as we talked about earlier, you will see the inclusion of the use of the National Digital Car Seat Check Form. We are developing a training app. We, meaning the NDCF team, is developing a training app to use in class. So the students can practice on that if they want to, or they can use the paper copy. So both will be available. We recognize that not everybody has connectivity and not all students want to download apps on their phone or have the ability to download the apps on their phone. And so we provide that information, and we'll provide those activities through the check form checks. The check form checks are not included in the tech guide. They are in the PowerPoint presentation. And the reason that we have done that is because they include snippets of the specific questions from the NDCF. And we wanted to be able to update, if they have an update to the check form, we wanted to make certain to have that most updated information available. And it's much easier for us to update the PowerPoint presentations than it is the technician guide. You'll see the addition of new activities, again, being mindful that the more quickly that students can apply information and also move their bodies, that it helps with the whole learning experience. And so you'll see some addition of new activities. This is a quick one in Module 2, where they look over the check form and highlight maybe terms that they're unfamiliar with, things that they'll need to learn throughout class. It helps to focus them. In Module 7, we've added a new activity on using and identifying car seat use information through labels and instruction manuals. We've also added an activity on recalls. Similar to the hybrid delivery format. And then watch for a new way for how we're delivering the car seat check practice activity, which will be in the new Module 12, using and building your new skills. And probably one of the best received features of all of the curriculum during the field review process is that the instructors love the page number boxes next to the questions, where the students can write down where they can find the information. And yes, we are including that information for you in the instructor guide, so you know where to find that information in the instructor guide and can quickly refer the students to it. And then at the end of the module, recognizing the importance of being able to return to digital media to refresh skills. We have module videos included as a list at the end. There's a QR code that will take you to the board's YouTube website, to that specific playlist that will support the 2024 curriculum. If you're clicking on that right now, you'll notice that there's just one video in there as a place saver. Forgot to press. All right, so where are we? And I want to make sure we have time for a couple any questions. We have completed the field review of the technician guide. We had 201 child passenger safety technician instructors sign up to participate in field review. That represents about 11% of U.S. instructors. So you'll see, I'm sorry, we had 185 from the U.S. and 16 from Canada. The U.S. representation was 11%. They represented 45 states. I was going for all 50. Even did individual reached out individually to the states, but we got a 45 out of 50. That's pretty good. So 90% of the states participated. And of those that signed up to do field review, 84% completed the field review. So again, if that's you, please give yourself, you can applaud yourself. Thank you. I read every single one of those reviews, and I thank you. I appreciate you and your contributions. I can tell you that the technician guide has been finalized for the pilots. It represents over 225 voices nationally. So what a collaborative effort. We are quickly working to finalize the instructor materials. The instructional designers are working on the online learning modules. We will be conducting pilots. The pilot sites have already been chosen, so thank you. I appreciate anybody's interest. And then we'll be, next week, we will be announcing the launch dates. So I'll have those to share publicly next week, the specific dates, and when we'll be cycling in and using the curriculum. So we'll continue to share information. We'll be doing a workshop at Kids in Motion next week during workshop session 1. Certification will follow, and during workshop session 2, talking about instructor materials and changes to the quizzes and the skills evaluation. The National Child Passenger Safety Board will continue its webinars. On the right-hand side, you'll see on September 9th, we'll have an instructor forum similar to this one, what's new in the curriculum. So it will look at kind of the same curriculum reveal that we're sharing next week. so that everybody nationally can see it. And then in November, we're going to try something new. We're going to do a webinar through the National Child Passenger Safety Board webinar series specifically for technicians. So what can they learn? What's different? Instructors are welcome to attend, but to help technicians update their knowledge based on and encourage them to read the 2024 Technician Guide. And then we're happy to do state presentations by request. Please, if you're a state coordinator, you can reach out to us at training@cpsboard.org. And I'm sorry, at training at cpsboard.org. And then here is the information here. If you have any specific questions, I'll leave that up for just a moment. And Claudia, do we have any questions?
We just had a couple. One person asked, do you have a total number of pages in the Technician Guide?
I can't confirm 100% because we haven't completed the pilot courses. We are about 350 right now. Okay. And that includes the glossary of terms. That includes, we've added an index this year to help find information a little bit more easily. That includes answers to the misuse. And there's also a job aid for locking clips that's been added back in.
Thank you. And Brittany Lombard did make a very good statement. It is a great time for you, if you're an instructor or even technicians, to make sure that you have your information updated in your Safe Kids profile at cert.safekids.org. That is how you will receive the information that you need to get the new curriculum information. So make sure that is set up to be where you want to receive your information. Danielle, did you have something to say? No? Okay.
And I did see somebody ask about the paper copy of the digital check form. Are they expected to use the digital version? And we will have the training app available for students. You can encourage them to download that ahead of time, but you can also have them use the paper copy as well. So they can use whatever is most convenient for them.
Right. We have a question about the instructor materials. Do we have an estimated shipping date?
Yes. That will be shared next week.
Okay. Thank you.
Stay tuned or come back and see me on September 9th.
Okay. In skills evaluation 3, is it going to have better pictures with the misuse pictures?
I'm happy to report that skills evaluation 3 will still be delivered in the same format, but it will have all new images. And we have learned so much about using images since the 2020 curriculum release. Remember, that was our first attempt. And so that has been you will see that it'll be totally updated.
Will we still have to pull them out of the back of the Technician Guide?
I do not believe so.
Woohoo! And that was a personal
certification. So you can ask Cass that when you see her next week. So
thank you.
I'm not sure she's on this call.
Okay. Do you think that do you think that the class will take more than 32 hours, the new training?
So that's up to each individual training location. I can tell you that we have to keep the training, a version of the training available to be delivered in 3 days. So that is by request of NHTSA. So there will be a 3-day schedule included. I know it's a very aggressive schedule, but we do provide that. So in terms of offering it longer than 3 days, that is up to each individual location and where you want to add time.
Thank you. And the recording of this instructor forum will be made available in the carseateducation.org website within 2 business days, probably sooner, but give me at least 2 business days to get it posted. And also there's a question about the instructors. Do you need instructors to pilot this fall?
Thank you so much. The pilot sites have been selected. I appreciate everybody's interest, but they have already been selected. And no, I'm not sharing.
And there's been a lot of people saying they love the new visuals. They love how it's collaborative and everything kind of flows smoothly. That's been a consistent text through here. People are loving the fact that you are incorporating the National Digital Check Form as well as page numbers as well. So we have one that says,
and I just need to give, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll go after you finish.
Well, I just want to give one more call out. I really have to express my gratitude to Rebecca and her team because she really, we have learned a lot over the last 4 years, and she has just helped to elevate the layout and delivery and incorporation of the adult learning theory into this curriculum. So I'm very appreciative to Rebecca and her team.
And we have one instructor who said that they wish there was a way to have all instructors signed off in quotation marks for new curriculum iterations.
I will share that with the certifying body.
Yes. And
So
some are saying they're excited. So
yes. Okay. So we are excited. Again, I do want to thank each of you. And if you are an individual contributor, many of these names I recognize as reviewers. Please note that this curriculum is the voice of over 225 instructors from around the country, and you really, truly make a difference. And so I hope that you can see your voices or hear your voices in the curriculum, and that you're happy with the changes. And I really appreciate those of you and all of you who have lent your time and talent to this project, because it is a group effort. And I think you'll see it. You'll see it when it comes out. And like I said, there'll be more coming soon. So I promise, if you can't join us next week, absolutely please join us on September 9th, and I will be happy to provide you with much more updates.
Thank you, Tammy. Well, that comes to the end of this particular episode of the Instructor Forum. Know that you can register for future instructor forums at CPSboard.org. You can also go to Safety Connection if you haven't been there already. It is through the carseateducation.org. You can go to the very top of the page, and there's a link to the Safety Connection there. And on the Child Passenger Safety Technician page, there is a way to register for these instructor forums there as well. So whichever location you happen to be in. And as Tammy alluded to, she will be speaking on the updates to the curriculum in the September forum, which will be September 7th. So we hope to see you there. And then in October, we will hear from Cass Herring, who will talk about what the supportive materials will be from Safe Kids Worldwide for the new curriculum release. So that'll be an exciting forum as well. If you have any further questions related to this, feel free to send them to training@cpsboard.org, and Tammy will fill those for you. And we are excited that you joined us today. Not forget any of these free training and resources that are available to you through National Safety Council. You can find all of these at the National Safety Council website, including the Check to Protect, which will be incorporated as well for a lot of what we do in the National Digital Car Seat Check Form. And we would love to see you share those with your social media partners and friends that you have out there. If